Project number 2. The photograph we're going to look at today is from the genre erotica, and the movement is postmodern. Taken in 1988, entitled Vintage France. A 6x6 negative, the original print size is unknown, printed black and white, most likely created with Hasselblad camera, which was known as a trademark for professionals. Lightweight and simple to use, it could be easily handheld or tripod mounted with interchangeable lenses and interchangeable film backs. This photograph was taken by Thomas Patrick John Anson, the 5th Earl of Lichfield, who lived from 1939 to 2005. This British photographer is most famous for his work in the 1960s. Lichfield was one of a group of photographers that pretty much defined swinging London in that era. Although a peer, he did not use his title in his work. He was known as a courteous and very reputable photographer. His photography peers, as well as his subjects, found him to be funny, sharp, and a true gentleman. I will now describe this photograph. First of all, let's look at the detail. Lichfield positioned the model on the table, thus presenting her as the centerpiece for the photograph. Strewn around are wine bottles and other items suggesting a gathering had or is taking place, and the model is part of the entourage, or possibly an appetizer to accompany the wine. There's an element of class here. The fine wine, the crystal goblets. This is not a gathering of the working class, but rather is a gathering of connoisseurs, both of the wine and of the vintage beauty presented. The clothing suggests not something off the rack, but rather a fine velour garment, classical in appearance. The woman is suggestive, not looking directly at the camera, her dress hiked up to expose her garters and panties. The vantage point. The photographer is not in the scene, but rather capturing the moment. The perspective is embodied by the title Vintage. This is a pose scene and yet seems to be voyeuristic. The vantage point is such that the photographer is able to capture the momentum and the maximum perspective and yet leave much unsaid about the scene. Where are the other members of this party? Who are they? What were they discussing? In this photograph, Lichfield was slightly above and far enough back to obtain the necessary angle and depth of field in order to present not only the woman as a subject, but also the other critical elements of this setting. While centering the woman in order to present her, he also ensured the relationship to the other elements of the photo, the bottles and the tablecloth, for the viewer. Frame. It appears that this photo is actively framed. Lichfield places the model in the center, which provides the necessary balance. There's enough detail captured to set the stage, and the props are such that they add to the story rather than detract, and yet the framing begs other questions as to what we are not seeing. Symmetrical. The attention of the viewer is drawn to the model, but also takes in the surroundings in order to convey the entire message. There is an energy potential in the framing method. What is captured and how it is dropping off to the sides and in the foreground shows us the edges of the photo and compels us to question what we are not seeing while being captivated by what is contained in his framing. The placement of the key items around the woman allows for the stage to be set properly and provides for a great composition. Light. His understanding of natural lighting suggests that he may have had to wait for the right time to capture his image, and his use of that lighting provides a soft quality that highlights the femininity of the woman. Additionally, it provides a backlighting of the scene as witnessed by the whiting out and the details of the sideboard located in the upper right hand corner. The lighting contrasts to the dark outfit of the dress and her hair pulls us to her, but then the white tablecloth stands in stark contrast to the bottle and the smoky stockings of the model. Focus. The attention that Litchfield gave to bringing the model into perfect focus with a great depth of field to capture the other items of the table and the chair behind the model. There's great 3D quality to this photograph, and the contrast of objects and the sharp details throughout help us to understand the space. Meaning and the subject. Litchfield, although known for his photographic talent, also loved younger women and was part of the swing 60s free love culture. His appreciation for beauty and his classical tastes all come together in this photo. I believe the title to be a play on words. Vintage not only refers to the scattered wine bottles, but also to the timeless classical beauty of the model. I believe his ability to combine both his artistic skills as a photographer and his love of all things classical led him to this photo. His known access to the upper class, his peerage, combined with a passion for young women all come together in this brief moment in time. The seductive temptress, young and yet sophisticated, complement the wines in the upper class setting. The careless scattering of the crystal and the bottles represent both wealth and abandonment of the confines of his upbringing. Litchfield is telling us about himself and of his life. He enjoyed the access and availability of finer things in life that were made available to him as a birthright, but yet he tells us here that Litchfield the photographer is famous and does not need his royal title in order to be known by all and respected by his peers that have no realm. For these are the people he seeks the acknowledgement of. The Queen may know him, but the people are his true audience. Evaluation. In my opinion, Litchfield was a master of capturing the moment in the perspective as seen through the viewfinder of the mind's eye. He playfully tells the entire scene with one word: vintage. He shows us much about the man, his skills as a photographer, and his place in the world not only as a playboy, but as a complex individual. He is able to bring the viewer not only into the scene, but into his psyche. Here is a professional plying his trade and opening up his soul. He is a gentleman, but still a man, with all the trappings of his class. Erotic in presentation, subtle in messaging. This photograph is a tapestry of the trappings of wealth. This is erotic and yet tasteful. He skillfully is able to depict the things he desires, both from a materialistic as well as a passionate perspective. He has been quoted as, he was a dandy and was somebody who, if he saw an opportunity to make life beautiful, felt he had the duty to do so, said Christie's photography expert Philippe Garnier. This is a well-to-do man who was able to conduct himself in a profession that demanded dedication not normally found in the aristocrats of his day. He was not only able to express artistically himself, but conducted himself as a gentleman while doing so. His eye not only saw the moment, but he had the rarest of gifts in his ability to capture and preserve it for others to enjoy. His stray photography, modern era approach are very self-evident.